Hey, Mike, what do Kelly Slater and PT have in common?
I don't know. They're both world champs?
Nope, they both own Endless Summer box set.
Oh my God, rad. You guys, you can get it too. The link's in the show notes.
Foot out, choke food. 100 racks on a surf, dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Food. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. 100 foot out.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Quivercast, where we chat with surfers from all around the world, from all walks of life, and we get their story. Find us at www.thequivercast.com. I am Mike, your host. Let's get into the show. Hello, everybody. This is Mike here with the Quivercast. I got a super duper special guest. I'm super stoked. I got Mike Lambresi, who's a multiple USA champ with PSAA.
Yep, the old Bud Tour, PSAA.
Yeah, and then a World Tour surfer also.
Yeah,
All right, cool. How you doing, Mike?
Good, Mike. I'm coming along well, and
Okay.
it's a beautiful day. It's good to be here.
It is a beautiful day out there.
Yeah.
It's kind of warm.
Yeah, it's definitely warm. It's been colder lately.
It has.
This is the warmest day we've had probably in a couple 3 weeks. So yeah,
It's super
got to
nice.
enjoy it.
Right on. You grew up in this neighborhood in Oceanside. So we're in Oceanside, everybody, at the harbor. Is this generally the area you grew up at?
Yeah, I grew up surfing the harbor actually.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the pier in the harbor growing up. That was where I surfed. I'd say 95% of the time I was hanging out at the South Jetty.
Yep.
And then we were going down to the North Jetty before you could drive down there.
Yeah.
And all the locals would go down there and surf. So it was a lot of fun.
Okay. Who's some of the local guys you were surfing with? Do you
Oh,
remember?
gosh. Oh, yeah. Back then, he had Johnny Boyden.
Yep.
And he had a brother, Bobby, was a professional skateboarder.
Oh, okay.
One of the early pioneers of that. Nick Adams, he was another local that was very good. John Ascension, Mike Barron.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and those guys were so good. Mike, Nick, and Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
That when they had the big pro event and all the traveling pros would come and surf it, they would be in the event. And then they would also sometimes qualify and get into the Smirnoff back in the old days.
Wow.
Yeah, so had a lot of good guys to look up to and get mentored by.
When they were surfing their heats, did you guys all come down and watch them?
Well, they were a few years older than me.
Yeah.
And there was one event that was here locally at Oceanside, and I did watch that one.
Okay.
It's the one Joey won, and he never got a check.
Oh,
So,
that's not good.
but it was still good for spectating.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And how are the waves back then compared to now? Are they the same? The sand the same and everything?
No, it's different. It's changed because of the two jetties, the North Jetty and then the jetty at Camp Del Mar.
Mm-hmm.
There's been subtle changes to them. So that has affected the sand flow. And then also they used to dredge, and I mean, they would dredge so much sand that they would dump it out at South Oceanside,
Yes.
and all the beaches would have sand.
Yeah.
Now they only go up to Tyson, not even Tyson Street,
Yeah.
barely.
I don't even think this year they did.
Yeah.
I think they stayed on North Side. But
Yep.
so totally different?
Yeah, it was way different. You
Better
had a
back
lot-
then?
Yeah, you had a lot more sand, and just seemed like we didn't have the big gutters that we have nowadays.
Mhm.
So now you have a gutter from North Jetty after big South Swell,
Yeah.
all the way through town, all the way.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just that just chews up the surf.
Okay. At first, you were a bodyboarder.
I was part of the first bodyboard crew.
Cool. How was that?
Oh my gosh, that was some of the best times of my life. Being
Really?
being in high school and
Okay.
being the best. I was basically the best bodyboarder
In the region?
No,
In the state? In the world?
I mean, it was really only here.
Yeah.
In the beginning,
Really?
and
Okay.
so because it was invented in Carlsbad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you could say the world and bodyboards hadn't reached out into
Yeah.
the world yet. So,
Yeah.
but,
So what year was the first boogie board came out? Was and when it-
74, I believe, 74, 75.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that changed everything, right?
Yeah, it sure did.
They got a lot of people like accustomed to the water. You got used to being in the water, probably.
Yeah, and you can kind of figure out, learn things about the ocean and how waves behave and how to trim and all that before you even have to stand up.
Okay.
So it does help.
Okay.
It's a great transition tool.
And then what year did you transition?
Oh gosh, I was surfing the whole time.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would, once I found surfing, that's what I did almost every day. The bodyboarding at that point, I only did for the contest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was surfing from 11 or 12.
Okay.
I couldn't get enough.
Really?
Yeah.
So let's say when you were on tour, like the World Tour, or you were doing traveling, I guess board bags were probably a little different back then, but did you put a woogie board in there or a bodyboard in there?
No.
No?
No.
Never?
Never.
Even though like those dredgy, like days where it's not real good to surf, like shore break?
No, we carried enough stuff around back then, and it was 10 or 11 months a year that we were traveling. It was brutal.
Okay.
You didn't want to carry anything you didn't need.
Yeah, unnecessary equipment. You're here now, you're getting a little older, and you're surfing also. Yep. And how do you start progressing? Just because of the competition in the local lineup?
Progressing. Oh, as a competitor,
as a surfer in general.
Surfer in general.
Yeah.
When I was competing, I had, there was a certain mindset that you have.
Okay.
And it carries over with you when you're just surfing, free surfing. Yeah. There's no turning that switch off.
Okay.
So, and it's competitive trying to catch waves. So, yeah, always very aggressive in the water.
Okay.
Super aggressive to the point where I'm sure it turned a lot of people off.
What do you mean?
Just being so aggro, backpedaling people, taking a wave and then going right back out to the peak and taking another one.
Are you talking about yourself doing that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You turned people off from surfing?
No, from me.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm sure it had to.
Every teenage kid does that can surf.
Right. And every pro does that. And, you get delusional sometimes. I used to think that, hey, the tennis guys don't have to worry about people getting in the way when they're practicing.
Right.
Get out of the way. I'm practicing. This is what I do for a living.
They have a private court.
Yeah. Kind of stupid, right? But that's kind of the headspace that.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah. When you're competing, especially at that level, you're so tunnel visioned that it affects everything in your life.
You mean like selfish?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. You are selfish in every way, shape, or form.
Really?
Your wife, your kids, everybody will suffer because of it. It's just any athlete who's obsessed with winning. They're gonna. I've heard stories, from all different sports. It's very, very similar.
Really? I never even thought about that. Because I know you get aggro in the lineup just to get your waves. And you probably think, from my past, if the guy's not as good as me, I feel like he's going to blow it. I should have the opportunity over him.
Right.
Even if it's his chance or shot.
Right.
Yeah, interesting. And did that affect your life?
Well, I stayed pretty focused and competed for a good 10 to 15 years and successly. So
super successful.
Yeah. So it was just part of my life, part of what I did and part of the overall makeup.
All right. So no regrets on that stuff?
No.
You had to do what you had to do. Was it fun?
Yeah, of course it was fun. It's always fun getting all the waves.
Now, also, I heard, I've heard lots of stories, like how tough the lineup at South Jetty was. And that probably, when you took that home and you took that to other breaks, or even at home, you had to fight for your waves, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'd say nobody was getting more waves than me when I was out at South Jetty at that time.
Okay. Yeah. What year is this?
This would have been
like early 80s?
Yeah.
Late 70s?
Yeah. No, 80, probably 2, 3, 4, up to 80, 89.
At this point, you were a pro at this point.
Yeah, I was a pro. I'd already done. I actually went on the World Tour first.
Okay.
For 2.5 years.
Yeah. So you're a pro then at that point.
Yeah. I was surfing the pro-ams here locally and doing really well, and finally I got a ticket around the world and figured I'm going to go give it a shot.
Okay. So Stubbies give that to you?
Yeah.
Okay. So how did you get connected with Stubbies?
Well, Jim Watson. I don't know if you know Jim Watson.
I know the name.
From Carlsbad. He was working as their contest director and I think overseeing or helping with all the marketing back in the day.
Okay.
And I knew Jim as the coach of Carlsbad's high school surf team. Mm-hmm. We had met because I was the Oceanside team.
Yeah.
We hit it off really well. He started seeing if I wanted to surf for Stubbies and, help put it together.
Okay.
And he basically put my first contract together, got my career started.
Okay.
So
at that point, did you think you had it to be a pro? Like
there was no doubt in my mind.
Okay. You were there.
Yeah. I wasn't going to.
So if Stubbies didn't step up, someone else would. You were going to. This was your career path.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I was going and I was going to succeed, period.
Cool.
There was no doubt in my mind.
You have to have that mentality as a pro server?
Yeah.
Are there guys that are just kind of really good surfers that don't have that mentality that can make it?
No.
Mm-mm. You think like Curran's mindset's the same?
It was at the time when he was competing. Oh, absolutely. I traveled with him.
Wow.
Yeah. He was, that was his focus.
He's so mellow.
I know. He is, but he's an animal in the water.
Yeah.
As far as just being competitive.
Yeah.
And, sometimes your competitiveness doesn't necessarily show.
Mm-hmm.
You see a guy like him and you're like, well, he's mellow. I mean, he's not dogging a guy up and down the beach.
Yeah.
No, he was very competitive.
How was competitive surfing at the early stages of your career? Was it like, there was rivalries, at least through the magazines and stuff?
Yeah.
Were those real?
Well, you had the Curran Aki rivalry. And it was real.
But that seemed kind of friendly almost-ish from an outside perspective.
Right. But the rivalry was deep, though. I think Tom hadn't, up until that point, he hadn't lost anybody on a regular basis.
Okay.
He wasn't used to it.
Yeah.
So he'd lose. Everybody loses. Even the best in the world. But he was coming up against Aki in 82, 83 over and over again. Mm-hmm. And more often than not, I think he lost, and it would really frustrate him. So I would see that. However, he won when it mattered and won the world title.
Okay.
And the heat that mattered was the famous Aki Curran heat at Bell's.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there on the beach watching it, and it was amazing.
Really?
Yeah, so.
Okay. So when you had to surf against Curran or Aki or any of these guys, was it the same game plan every time against these guys? Or did you knew the competitor and you knew their strengths and weaknesses, and you approached it that way?
No. Not that tactical. Nowadays there's coaches and there's all sorts of things that have developed in the pro surfing scene. Back then you were on your own. You didn't have any coaches or anything. So,
maybe your friends.
Yeah. I just went out and tried to get the best 4 waves I could get.
Okay. And, so you had the same strategy no matter who you were surfing against? Yeah.
Well, there were times, though, within the heat, your strategy becomes the buoy, because you just have to go around the buoy.
Yep.
So that strategy was all, if you can get first priority, you want it. So there would be paddle battles and stuff. But the approach was similar no matter where you're at, just different types of waves.
You look back at it today, did you love pro surfing?
I did.
It never became a job? Or was it a job that you loved?
It was a job that I loved.
Okay.
Because I made it my job.
Right.
Because did things when I wasn't surfing contest to get me prepared for the contest. I always believed that training and luck, when they combine, right, you just got to be prepared. Be prepared, do all the things you need to do. So when the opportunity comes, a lot of people call it luck, but when that opportunity shows itself, you're ready to take advantage of it because you've been practicing, training, and, you recognize it.
Can you give us an example of something like that?
Well, okay. So, I can give you plenty of examples in the ocean, actually.
Perfect.
So part of the training was, and I learned this more from Ian Cairns. Different coaches I had were good at different things. Mm-hmm. We would sit on the beach and he would draw the lineup and he would draw the sand, the sandbars. Okay. And he would say, okay, so watch this. And we would study and write how many waves are coming in here and there, which are the best waves. All right. Right. So, and it was like, all right, if you're winning, you stay here. If you're desperate and you need a wave, you're at a certain point of the heat, you can go over here and get it so that you're at least not getting left behind too far and then come back over and be competitive at least. So things like that. So you're in a heat, you're behind. There's only about 10 minutes to go. you're prepared because you've already thought about it. You've trained for it. You've been prepared. You go get that wave, come back. At least you're in a position to possibly win, where you were looking at a failure.
Okay. There were surf coaches then that they were just a few.
Yeah.
And they were like team coaches more.
Well, I did mostly individual one-on-one training.
Okay.
They did a lot. They did do some group
like
stuff.
NSSA and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But Ian and PT were coaching on the side.
Oh, okay.
So we would just pay, for $500, here's what you get and here's what we're going to do.
Okay.
I had quite a few coaches. My Ben Ipa also.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Some coaching, but not like today where they're traveling with you,
Yes.
training you and feeding you and, telling you what you can and can't eat.
So, with that being said, you definitely did not make the money back then as they do today.
Correct.
So they have actually have money to pay coaches.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So then you didn't. But if you did make the money, would you have hired a coach to travel with you? Do you think?
Probably not full time.
Okay.
I don't know if I would have even considered it or if it would have been in my head.
Yeah.
It wasn't, nobody was doing it except Tom Carroll.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he had a coach manager with him at, pretty much everywhere he went.
Wow.
Peter Manstead was his name.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that either.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that helped him?
I think it helped him.
Okay.
Yeah, he had won 2 world titles in a row.
Yeah, definitely. Tom Carroll rips.
Yeah, he was terrific.
Without a doubt.
He would have had 3 if he didn't get interference at pipe on that last event with Derek Ho. Paddling interference. And pretty BS paddling interference. He probably should have had 3 world titles.
So do you think, now that's another subject that I've talked about with several people. Do you think that judging was skewed and kind of made things happen that shouldn't have?
So back then,
does that make sense what I'm saying?
Absolutely, it does. Right. Like, do guys get the benefit of the doubt and you get pushed through? Yeah, that'll always happen.
And that won't change today?
I don't think so. And the reason it's better today, there's more accountability.
Because we're watching it.
But a guy comes up and the fans are going to be just as hyped on him. Like look at Italo the first few years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he could do no wrong.
Yeah.
He's not surfing worse. He's surfing better now, and he's still not getting, like last year or this year, most of the year, they're like, God, he doesn't have many 8s above in the excellent range. He's not surfing different. But they've got more critical of him, which they should have been in the first place. Right. So he's not the flavor of the month.
Okay.
But back then they had a couple of things. So that would happen. But you also had less money for the tour. So you would have, I think it was 2 or 3 traveling judges.
Oh, okay.
And then you would have
guys local.
Yep. 2 or 3 local judges.
That's rad.
So when that happens, the local guys know somebody really well. They really love his surfing.
Yeah.
And they're not intentionally pushing him through.
That makes sense.
They go, oh, God, he's ripping like
he's been
always.
watching it for 10 years. Right. Killing it at the pier.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he favors that style.
Right.
Yeah, it makes sense. So how now we're on the pro surfing thing, which I kind of geek out on.
Right. Me too.
Oh, do you?
Oh, yeah, all the time. So I watch all the events.
Okay, there's one of my questions. You do watch today?
Everyone.
Okay. The CT ones. What about the Challenger or the lower, like QS ones?
Okay, so I watched every CT and Challenger.
And Challenger.
I wasn't watching the WSL, WQ, or QS events.
QS,
when the tour had most of the guys up there. But now that they're cutting it, and the talent, is down there, plus the talent coming up, they're fabulous to watch. The Challengers are amazing events.
Do you like the concept of having the kind of 3 different tours? The local,
absolutely.
QS? You like it?
Yeah. It gives you a path. That way, if you're from America and you don't have a big sponsor to fly all over the world to try to get points,
that makes sense.
Right. You can qualify to the Challenger Series. By then, you're probably going to have enough sponsorship or at least be able to support yourself with winnings to get around.
Well, let's go back to that later about the sponsorship, if we remember.
Yeah.
I hope we do. That brings up the PSAA, right? You guys actually had a path and made enough money where you could stay home.
Yep.
And there's very little WSL events in the United States.
Right.
even on the West Coast or
Yeah.
East Coast.
Yeah.
These guys
At
can't.
the most.
It's hard to come up in the world unless they're. I mean, the amateurs is paving their way.
Right. It is hard if you don't have help.
Yeah.
You know, if your family doesn't have money and they want to support you.
Okay.
Or if you just get good sponsors, you get in good with the USAA or NSSA and stuff, and you're going to have help. But back then we had a lot of money to be made at home, and if you were inclined to stay home,
Yeah.
like some guys used it to launch their career.
To
Get on the World Tour,
Got
right?
it. Yeah.
I came the other way. I came back to it because we started having babies. I had 3 kids in a row
Okay.
in 3 years. So
Yeah,
I didn't want to be gone 10 months a year.
No. That makes sense. Okay, so now here we're gonna get personal, and you can say no to this. But did you grow up with money?
No,
Okay.
no.
How would you have done in today's climate, trying to make it as a pro surfer? You would
Well-
have to, if you didn't have. I mean, to find the sponsorship and stuff, because there's a lot of kids out there that rip that have no sponsors. Sponsorship's not available, I think, as it used to be.
It's there. It's just not as freely given and thrown around.
Okay.
There's more money at the top,
Okay.
from what I can see. Now, I was so determined.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was this drive that I had, this singular focus,
Yeah.
that if it was today and I would have the same drive, I would have no
You would
doubt
make
I'm
it
gonna
some
make
way.
it. Because that's what you do. You just say, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And then you do it.
Yeah.
Whatever it
Wow.
takes.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. If I grew up in this era, as long as I could have done airs.
Could you do air?
I did
Back then?
airs. Back then I did a few airs.
Okay.
And I've done a few in the last couple of years, but I've also broken my leg doing an air. So
Wow. What year was that?
it was like 3 summers ago at the north side of the pier.
Okay. All right. So, and going back between pro surfing today and you, some of the rivalries, let's go back to the rivalries we talked about earlier. Do you think pro surfing is missing rivalries
Yep.
to do it? Is it too clean cut?
Oh, absolutely.
Which makes it what to you?
Milk toast.
Okay.
You know, it's like I am a geek for it, like you said you were.
Yeah.
I just wish they would give us a little more of real, you know, how they really feel and stuff, and more raw feelings and stuff. Everything's, you know, I'm so grateful to so and so, and
Yeah.
you know, it's all this, and they say the same thing, all of them, but you don't.
They do.
You don't get to know them. You know, you don't. If
Why do you think they do that?
WSL has
Okay,
Eric
that's my
Logan
question.
has his whatever his philosophy is, you know,
Okay.
keep it clean or whatever. But in sports, there are moments that happen that people remember forever.
Right.
And the WSL, those are the kind of things that could happen in a heated situation, you know, between surfers. Who knows what it is? Something happened to the water, whatever. But because they're programmed so hard by the WSL,
That's crazy.
that they, in every area, they're just too nice. They're too. I know they're competitive. I know they're gnarly because we watch it.
Yeah.
But we don't get to hear them. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you don't have a Brad Gerlach, you don't have
A Sonny Garcia.
Martin Potter, Sonny Garcia,
Yeah.
Rabbit, guys with personality and character who might say something that is not on the
Politically-
script.
Politically correct,
But
maybe?
it-
or what do you mean?
yeah, politically correct.
Okay.
That's probably the best way to put it. You know, but back then, not only was there a lot of raw feelings expressed in the water and on the beach,
Okay, that's
and
another
in
question.
front of the microphone, it was constant. So you really got to know the characters.
So were opposing characters, did they have real hatred towards each other?
There were fights.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
maybe at the club the night later on that night or something. Like,
There was fights on the beach.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I keep hearing the Martin Potter Gerlach one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Several people said they witnessed that.
But they're both good guys.
No, totally.
And they probably
Probably laugh today.
They do. I think wasn't there a Martin Potter Gerlach Legends heat about 5 years ago at the
I think so.
yeah.
Like lowers or something.
Yeah, so they're definitely way past that.
Oh, 100%.
But that
yeah.
kind of stuff happened a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
you're paddling and your arms are hitting and you're trying to get under them and your boards are touching and you know, trying to get positioning, trying to get priority.
Someone's going to lose.
Right. And if there's no priority, then it's like that just to try to get the wave.
Well,
Yeah, it's ruthless.
Do you think the pro surfing is going in the right direction? That's the question.
Yeah.
Clean cut's good?
In that regard, I'd say that they're leaving a lot of opportunities, you know, untouched. Because I think having more characters and personality and, you know, of all the diverse different types of surfers, because they are very different.
Of course.
They don't have that, so they're missing out. But as far as the direction they're going,
Okay.
I think they've done a fantastic job. The
Really?
events are great to watch.
All right.
The webcast is terrific. There's times I hear things that I'm just like blown away. You know, they say something, I'm like, what? That doesn't even make sense what you just said, the commentator or something.
Yeah.
But then I remember how hard that job is, and they're doing it now for longer periods.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like real quick, you know, in and out. So yeah, it's a hard job. So there's times get frustrated by it, but overall, I think they do a fantastic job.
Do you think there should be more QS opportunities locally? Get more people involved in the pro tour, or you think the amateur ranks is doing that for us?
That's what they do, and quite honestly, I don't know enough about.
Okay.
I haven't stayed in touch or involved with that area of surfing to have a opinion. I wouldn't even know what to say.
Perfect.
I'd have to make it up and lie to you.
No. What about a potential for like American tour? You think that could ever happen again? How you guys had it?
You know, I wish it would. I thought that was great.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to have an opportunity to go to events and to see some of the young kids on their way get that opportunity. Things are different with scheduling and all the ways the tour are put together. You know, would a tour like that be able to exist on its own? I don't know. I mean, they probably have to be sanctioned by the WSL and stuff. I mean, it could happen.
Okay.
I think it's going on in other countries.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think Australia has little tours, and Asia does. But, you know, I don't know for sure.
What made the PSA, if you know? Why did it end? It's funding?
Well, you know, Joey Brandon pretty much started it, right?
Yeah,
He started it. And then Body Glove bought it, I believe, is what it was. And then Bud Tour had financed it.
Okay.
So, and then Ian Cairns came in to run it for Body Glove, and they did that for years, but they just eventually they ran out of money.
Okay.
You know, Body Glove couldn't afford to probably foot the bill for the whole year.
Yeah.
You know, forever.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's like the WSL now. You know, they're footing the bill. They're trying to say that they're making money and doing better, but
they're still in the red.
They had to carry themselves. You know, they didn't have all the sponsors and all the help that they needed.
Do you think that the pro surfing should go out to the real world, IKEA or Target, or how are they going to get money?
Well, they've already done that
a little bit.
I mean,
Jeep
they're doing,
yeah.
So, you know, the non-endemic sponsors
Okay.
are the ones that have all the money.
Yeah.
You know,
Correct.
and they also have extra money. You know, like they could look at surfing and say, well, this is part of our budget. We're going to invest and see how it goes, you know, and see if it's something we want to do down the road. But trying to survive on sponsors from the industry, it'll never happen.
Okay.
It's never happened.
Really?
Ever.
You didn't make enough money off your sponsors to survive? Or
I just mean a tour.
A tour. Okay.
Yeah.
All
you know, they're not going to step up and sponsor it. They never have.
Why?
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. I guess you don't know that. Yeah.
They you know, because I did work for Surfer and talk to them sometimes, and, you know, they just truly didn't see that they needed to.
Surfer magazine you're talking about?
No, the pros.
Oh, the pros.
Or I'm sorry, not the pros. The
ASP
company
at that
owners.
time. Yeah,
no,
okay,
I was at Surfer, and I would go out and I would meet with the heads of the companies.
Understand.
Exactly. Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay.
Rusty, Bill, you know, all those.
Yeah.
And I just think they didn't really see it as the enough value for their dollar. You know, they were doing all the print advertising and then starting to do videos and all the other kinds of things. So, and it's been that way from what I can see forever. You know, some companies get involved, but not enough to support the whole thing. So they got to go outside.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how is that going to change surf culture? Is it if they do go out?
They already have. I mean, they've been going outside and getting sponsors for years. And that's why the WSL is, and then you have somebody running it.
Yeah.
And we got somebody,
do you think
their idea of what they want out there, the clean cut image, right? So it's already affected it.
True. I didn't think about that.
I think a lot of surfers, like guys who are true surfers, who don't just buy the product because it's cool.
Right.
We'd like to see, more of that. But the average guy coming in off the street, they probably don't care. They want to see the contest, see what it's all about. It's.
And then pro surfing, do you ever think it can be sold to middle America?
Well,
wave
with wave pools, it's going to happen.
Okay.
It's all a matter of time now.
Okay.
Wave pools are good enough to where
100%.
guys are going to grow up in an area and learn to surf in a wave pool.
Okay.
Right? I mean, it's going to happen.
No,
Somebody's going to
100%.
grow up in middle America, and they're going to ride a wave pool their whole life and be amazing in a wave pool.
Right.
So,
and how do you think that'll translate to the ocean?
Well, if they don't learn to surf in the ocean, then it's going to be tough. It's not it's going to be way different. So there'll be a big learning curve for them. Yeah, it's going to happen someday.
Okay. So are you saying the future's bright in pro surfing?
Well, I think it's bright. I mean, there's a lot of conversation that I see, and online, people criticizing the WSL for this, that, and the other, and the judging and all that. And, if you want to nitpick and pick things apart, or if that becomes your job or your angle of your job as an editor or whatever it is, then you're going to stick with it, right? Okay. But I don't have that. I'm just watching.
But you have an inside perspective because you've lived this.
Right. But I mean, it's right. And
so
but for me,
matters.
I watch it and I enjoy it.
You think
I think they do a good job.
Perfect.
And even if they fail financially and the tour goes away, another one's going to come right back.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, there's pro surfing's not going to go away.
Yeah.
There's somebody else would just put a tour together and then they'd have another tour. And then eventually, it's going to just keep going from there. It'll never be baseball or football. Who wants that anyways?
Do you think it never will be then?
No.
Okay.
No. But
do we want, do you want that?
No, we don't want that many more surfers in the water.
When you surf, and now we'll kind of get off the pro surfing thing, but now talking about surf culture because that kind of brought it up.
Right.
How are the lineups different than they were when, let's say, you were 15?
Oh, gosh.
Is it different?
Super, enormously different.
Okay.
So you drive up now to the harbor or the pier.
Yeah.
And you got to make your way on the beach through all the kids and people there with surf camp and surf trainers and rent a board for the day and all this, right? So, and then you get in the water and they're out there.
Right.
There's 20 or 30 of them and they're usually off a little bit to the side. Inside.
Yeah.
But they're constantly going to be in the way. There's no way they can't.
Yeah.
And then they graduate and get better and end up out in the lineup. So there's just more and more people. But even from the standpoint of, how many people are on the beach with boards and just constantly in the water in the way.
So is there any similarities of 80 South Jetty to 2020 South Jetty?
Well,
if you're like on a good Santa Ana day in September.
Well, the problem is I don't surf South Jetty anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll pick your beach.
Yeah. I surf anywhere where the crowd's not.
Okay.
Tyson Street, Oceanside Boulevard, Forester.
Less quality for less people.
Yep. Absolutely. Now, there's times when it's so small that the only place breaking is the harbor.
Yep.
And when that happens, I'll spend a few days up there. Mm-hmm. And then by the time the few days are over, or if the swell's amazing and I got to go up there.
Yeah.
Usually after 3 or 4 days, though, I'm snapping. And it's like if I stay out, I come out again, I'm going to get into it with somebody. Or I get into it with somebody and I realize that's enough. I got to go find my peak down at South Oceanside away from people.
Okay, so you being Mike Lambresi of Oceanside with most people would respect you just because who you are and where you grew up here?
The locals are very
They know who you are.
respectful and
Okay.
but
Do you ever, I don't know how to say this, and I'm just asking just
Yeah.
because I'm curious. Like beat your chest like I'm Mike Lambresi.
no, that embarrasses the heck out of me.
But back in the day, that you kind of did. You said so. But I'm not, and
Well,
I'm
no, not-
this is not
not-
a bad way, by the way. This is all about fun.
No, I know, but that was more of just a determination,
Of surfing.
and it
Got
was
it.
a reflection of where I was at.
Okay.
So it was never like, hey, everybody, do you know who I am?
Yeah. Okay.
I
Gotcha.
wasn't
Understood.
that. I'm not that guy. Do you know
You're
who
not.
I am?
Okay.
It's like,
There are some guys like that.
yeah, there's guys. They're out there, they're getting pulled over and getting a ticket, and they're asking the cop, "Don't you know who I am?"
Yes.
Yeah, I do know who you are. Here's your ticket.
I know that came across wrong.
I
sorry.
never liked you anyways. But yeah, no.
Sorry, that might have came across
No, it's
wrong.
okay. Yeah, no.
Because there's only a handful of guys really in Oceanside.
Yeah.
Well, no one's been as successful as you, I don't think. Has there?
Competitively, no.
No. Okay. You're like the guy.
Yeah, because you had David Barr and Joey Baran
Carlsbad.
from Carlsbad.
Which is another question I have.
Yeah.
Those guys are from Carlsbad. Was there a divide? A definite divide or not?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Was there?
those guys are a few years older than me, so
First off, yeah. Got it.
But Carlsbad and Oceanside, when I was in high school, there was a divide. There was a rivalry. So I mean,
Was it fun or was it like kind of like the
it's-
Santa Cruz rivalry where they hated each other?
No,
East, West kind of
it
thing.
was more fun.
Okay.
Yeah. 'Cause-
So you could go surf like warm waters.
Yeah,
Back in the day.
Did all the time.
Oh, okay.
But like any place, any place you go, even when I first went to Hawaii, show respect.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be I learned this. Don't be too aggro. Don't just paddle out there and think you're going to get every wave and take every wave. If you're mellow and you show respect to the people around you, if you go to another spot, you're gonna be okay.
Yeah. Okay. So that
and then the strategy is to get a wave, right? A smaller inside wave.
Okay.
Because they're going to watch.
Yeah.
Well, who's this new
Let 'em
guy
know
out
you
here?
surf.
And then they see you and they're like, oh, he's pretty good, and he's showing respect for the locals.
Okay.
So then I will get more waves and some sets.
Right. But I mean, obviously, when the Carlsbad guys came over to South Jetty, or you went to Warm Waters, or whatever was breaking back then, they knew who you were.
Oh yeah,
And you knew who they were.
We hung out together.
Okay. I always
Yeah.
hear this thing where I always have envisioned this thing where it was like a line. Don't cross the line.
I hung out with
Okay.
Taylor forever.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Training and practicing. Paul Barr, David Barr,
Yep.
Yeah, there's so many guys from Carlsbad that I've hung out with over the years, almost as many as Oceanside.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's where you live today, too, by the way.
Yeah, I probably after getting into Carlsbad in my mid to late 20s, I've probably lived there most of the last 30 years.
Oh, wow. More than you lived in Oceanside.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think of the up and coming kids in Oceanside, like the Katie?
Oh my
the
gosh,
Lucas?
they're amazing.
Katie. Yeah, Katie's
is-
amazing.
She's from another planet.
Okay.
There's who's the next Tom Curran? Who's the next Kelly Slater? They're going to say who's the next Caitlin Simmers one day.
Wow.
She's going to win world titles.
Wow.
Multiple. The only reason I won't say she's going to rival the Stephanies of the world is that the progression at this point, the rate of progression is astronomical. So coming up right behind her, Aaron Andrews, right? You got all these other kids. So I don't know. Is there going to be another leap? Or because she surfs, I've never watched a girl surf like her.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah. And I watch the women's events on the WSL, by the way. So I love a lot of their surfing. They do. There's women surf. There's just a better style for the most part.
You
with
like
a
it?
lot of them. Like Stephanie Gilmore's the best surfer in the world to watch, style wise.
Okay.
But it's going to grow fast. The progression's going to be faster and faster. But maybe Katie can win 7 or 8 world titles. I think she'll win a couple, 3.
Okay.
Yeah, she's amazing. I just love watching her. And you know what? I get proud. I don't know her.
Oh, really?
But when people from here do well,
Yep.
or locally, Cardiff, Carlsbad, and they're
North
going
County,
out and they're
yeah.
chasing their dream.
Yeah.
I love it. It's like, oh my God, they're doing it and they're from here, and it feels
You
good.
relate to them, maybe?
Yeah,
A little bit?
that, and plus, they're following the same path I did at one point.
Yeah.
And so I always want to see him do good. I just, I love to encourage him, and if I can help in any way, I will. And yeah, it's fun.
And she, knowing her a little bit, and I know her parents and stuff, but she's so mellow about it.
Yeah,
she has like that kind of Curran-esque kind of
right. She's
looks like she's not trying that hard,
right,
and she's killing it.
Right. She's got the John arms.
John. There you go.
The arms of John. Yeah, she's been this good for a long time.
Oh yeah,
I remember taking pictures of her off the pier when she was about 14.
Mm-hmm.
She did a couple of these in the pocket down carves on edge that were at that time at 14 that just basically had my jaw dropping.
Really? Yeah. So you saw it.
I took pictures. I posted them.
Yeah. Not knowing who she was at that point.
I had heard about her.
Oh, you heard about her. Okay.
I'd already heard about her. And, we hear about her all the time now, and I see her in the water.
But you've been around and you've surfed around some of the most stylish, best surfers in the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
The guys in history that are going to go down in history.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the similarities?
Yeah, she's going to.
Okay. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
You have a special eye.
There's certain surfers who they just have style.
Okay.
They have this beautiful style. Curran, Stephanie Gilmore, people like that. So she has such a relaxed, cool, calm style that could translate to that kind of a style as she develops more and more.
And she brings it on the beach too. Like that's her every day, I think.
Yep. She just seems like she's having a good time.
And then anybody else you see coming up, go up male or female, kind of in the area?
Well, I know that Lucas Ostin's pretty incredible. I've seen him do some surfing out here. Gosh, Alyssa Spencer and Elle McCaffrey down in Cardiff.
Yeah.
I had never met those two, but with this injury I have, I can't do any surfing. So I've been doing a lot of photography.
Right.
And I love it.
Yeah.
And so that last run of swell we had, they were all at the pier, including Rio Waida.
Okay.
I shot a bunch of photos, like thousands of them, over a 3-day period. And so I met them.
Okay.
And it's like, well, she's right down the street in Cardiff. And I checked out her surfing online. It's like, she's really good.
Yeah.
She's got a backhand to die for. So,
yeah. Talking about Alyssa?
No, talking about Elle.
Oh, okay.
Alyssa, she's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. She'll do well. She just won that event over there.
Yeah.
The Challenger one. So, but, there's a lot of good surfers around here. Seems like the women around here that we have coming up, there's more of them than the guys.
So what's your take on women surfing in general compared to like your day? And was there even a women's event in the PSAA?
Yeah, there was, but there was also women's on the World Tour.
It's
part of the. That was part of the.
Pam Burge and Jody.
All those. Yeah. So the difference is the quality of surfing is better. I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
But they were good back then.
Yeah.
Pam was an amazing surfer. Jody was. I mean, they were good surfers. And but they had to crawl and claw their way up because they didn't get any love from the ASP at the time.
That's another question.
They'd be like, oh, we're not going to have the women's at this stop because we don't have enough money or whatever.
Yeah.
And they had to deal with stuff like that, but they pushed through it. So they were actually tougher than the men.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then marketing wise, I think the female side is better to market surfing.
Right. Well, it's a lot easier to go to Middle America with female surfing. I mean, you can sell a million of the, two-piece bathing suits or whatever.
Yeah.
And they build the brand and the marketing just like the men, but it just seems to me that it crosses over better.
Why do you think there's so many female surfers now? What opened that door?
Well, it's
because there's definitely more girls out in the water.
Oh,
ladies in the water.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. You have the first few who just open the door or knock the door down, so to speak. And then others feel more comfortable. And then they're on the tour, the first generation on the tour, and then others become more comfortable. And then the second generation, and they're progressing. Next thing you know, you're where they are now, and they're surfing amazing, and they're progressive, and they're making money.
Okay.
And it's fruitful for them. And then all of a sudden, you have companies seeing the value. Because it really comes down to the value.
Sure.
Well, if we're going to pay somebody, we want to get return on that investment. And there's only there's a handful of people, both men and women, who can actually push the needle or move the needle in that regard, where people go, I'm going to buy this because of Stephanie Gilmore
Yeah.
or Carissa Moore.
Right.
Right. They're going to go, I'm buying this because that's my favorite.
Yeah.
And that's who she's sponsored by. But not a lot of pros can do that.
Which brings another good question up. When you were a pro, or your era of proness with the other guys too, you guys' job, along with surfing, was to sell product.
Right.
How was that for you?
You know, we would. It's no different today. We'd go do autograph sessions at
Yes.
the mall at certain stores,
Yeah.
and we'd go to Japan, and they would take us to their big malls over there, Marui, and do signings, and take pictures with people and all that kind of stuff. So, and the guys they're still doing it now.
Yeah, they are. Did you
same
enjoy
thing.
doing it?
Yeah, as long as it wasn't too often.
Oh, okay.
Because I really wanted to be training or surfing, and then if I wasn't, I'd like to unwind a little bit.
Yeah.
But as long as it wasn't every day, and you feel like your ass is on fire trying to get from one place to another.
Okay.
Yeah. Can I say that?
Yeah.
Ass?
You can say
Okay.
it twice if you want.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because with pro surfing, there's so many other elements that we all just watch you guys in the heat and think that's it. But there's so many levels and layers.
Well, I mean, in order to be successful, you got to have talent.
Okay.
And you have to have work ethic and all those things.
Yep.
Then you have to have the mentality, back when I was growing up, at least,
Okay.
of how to appeal to a sponsor and how to get one.
Okay.
Because you didn't have, it wasn't the kind of money where you had agents doing all that for you and
okay.
stuff. You did everything. You would get.
So Stubbies came to you, or did you knock on their door?
Jim and I just were friends.
Okay.
And I won the Stubbies.
Yep.
He came to me afterwards and he says, "Hey, do you want to go on the world tour?" And I go, "Well, yeah." And he goes, "Well, I've got Stubbies to pay for your ticket around the world and give you $500 a month," which $500 a month back then was
That's
a lot more
pretty
than
good.
it is today.
Yeah.
And I was like, "I'll go. I'm going." So he set it up. I didn't
Okay.
even do it. I was really fortunate in that regard.
Wow.
Yeah, he literally set it up and sent me on my way.
Okay. And with some of the smaller sponsors, did those just happen organically too? Like at a contest site, someone would walk up to you? Or were you sending letters out to the companies?
Well, in the beginning, just meeting people.
Yeah. Shaking hands.
And then we'd discuss it after a few times of meeting or whatever. Or they'd, "Hey, would you want to use the product?" Or just product I was already using.
Yeah.
That would develop into a relationship and a possible sponsorship.
Okay. And was that like just the flow of the product, or were you actually making hard cash?
We were not a lot, but yeah, hard cash.
And then placement stickers on boards.
Mm-hmm.
Were you paying like different spots had different amount of money?
Well,
Does that make sense what I'm saying?
yeah, the company, your biggest sponsor, got the tip of the board.
Yeah.
So for me, it was Stubbies.
Okay.
And like for the guys nowadays, like Philippe, he's going to have his Billabong for Philippe
I think
Toledo.
so.
Yeah, on the front.
Okay.
They pay all the money, they get the best spot.
Right. Okay. And then I'm trying to wrap this part up, but then I have more questions.
That's okay.
What about some of these really, really good pro surfers with no sponsors? And there's several of them out there.
Yeah, it's shocking. I everybody wants to sing the blues, the economy, this, that, the surf
These guys have been
industry.
sponsorless for a while.
The
Some of them.
surf industry is not, doing well or whatever. It's BS. They're just deciding that they want to put their money at a higher level and then do other things.
Yeah.
They could do it. I mean, they can afford to. These are $500 million companies. They can afford to sponsor a few guys.
So, I mean, back in the day too, if you went to Newport Beach in the 80s, anybody that can do a turn was sponsored by Quicksilver. It seemed like, right? Everyone was sponsored.
Yeah.
Which made you, if you weren't wearing Quicksilver, you wanted to go buy Quicksilver.
Right.
Right?
The whole Echo Beach period.
Okay.
They
There you
owned
go.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Santa Cruz had theirs and wherever. Oceanside probably had whoever.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's gone now. And the bigger companies, like, is Quicksilver even owned by McKnight anymore? Like, I mean, I don't know who owns what.
Quicksilver,
They're all sold out, right?
Yeah. Quicksilver, became a
Vulcans.
huge company, and they bought Billabong, they bought
Right.
Excel, and I don't know all the companies, shoes, sunglasses, all that. And then that group just got bought also.
Well,
That
that's what I'm
just
saying.
happened.
So, do you think there's opportunity for a small business to start over and get core again? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, because back in the time we were growing up in surfing, there was a lot of small companies.
Yeah.
Because the industry was
Thousands.
growing, right?
Or
Now,
hundreds.
there was no $100 million companies or
Yeah.
$500 million companies
Right.
back then. So you had different tiers of companies. You know, you had the newer companies that could pay guys, you know, $100, $200 in photo incentives, and you had the big companies who paid all, you know, most of the money, and there was levels.
Okay.
Seems like now there's just the big guys, you know, and
Right.
to make it, you got to have a lot of money to start up. So you don't start grassroots the way they used
To
to.
make a couple pairs of trunks and get them in a local shop.
No.
Those days are over?
It seems,
Probably.
seems like it.
Wow.
Yeah. You know,
Is that
stuff
a-
like that happens, you know, that's part of an industry growing,
Okay.
right? You have those periods of time, and they're very awesome to look back and remember and see,
Okay.
you know, that and be a part of it. Every industry is going to grow, and that's not going to be a part of its future.
You working at Surfer Magazine, you were dealing with a lot of, probably dealing, I don't know what was your job at Surfer?
Advertising.
You were working with
Yeah.
these guys.
Yeah. So Liam Ferguson and I had pretty much the whole country.
Okay.
And Cordover was our boss, and we just sold advertising to all the surf companies, and then anybody who wanted to get their product in front of surf fans, even if they're not from the surf industry, would come through us.
Yeah. And if you look back at the old one, there's a few ads like that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of what
Oh, yeah.
they are,
Yeah.
but
Non-endemic,
yeah.
you know.
But there's really no publications of surfing.
Yeah, it's changed. It's
What are your thoughts on that?
well, you know,
And I know
loved-
you're a fan of Instagram.
Yeah.
So they're kind of, go ahead.
I love all that, and I love, you know, it's awesome to be able to do the marketing and promoting as an athlete or a company on a daily basis, right? I mean, it's just a whole new world.
Yeah.
But you can't replace what we had growing up.
Okay.
I had a wall in my bedroom.
Yes, me too.
I had 4 of them, but one of them was dedicated to MR and Sean.
Okay.
Now, they have that famous photo in the barrel together, right?
Yes.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that was in the middle.
All right.
Sean is in the back, so
Gotcha.
he got that side of the
Yeah,
wall.
yeah, yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
They're my 2 favorite
That's
surfers, right?
That's right.
And then all the other walls were filled up with everybody else, Mike Ho and Dane Kealoha, Rabbit, Simon, you name it,
Yeah.
PT, Ian. You know, kids don't have that nowadays.
Right.
Be able to take it out of the magazine, cut the magazine up, you know,
Yeah.
get it. Where do I want to put it on the wall? But it's got to be in just the right spot. It's got to look good. You know, as part of, that was a lot of fun. You know, I enjoyed that.
So I've talked to a couple different former pros, and one of the questions I have is, I feel my feelings, that's just my feelings, are that we'll always remember the Mike Lambresis, the Mark Richards, the Sean Thompsons, the Martin Lynches, because we've seen you in the magazines, we've turned the page,
Right.
and we put you on the wall. Where today you have let's say even Katie Simmers, we're talking about it, like it's always the next best clip,
Right.
or whoever, even Toledo.
Yeah.
Felipe. So are they going to be forgotten once something happens to them, or they fall off tour, or they decide to quit surfing the tour?
Well, I mean,
You guys are in history because those magazines are always open.
right. No, I don't think if they make a mark, if they're successful, they're going to be remembered
Okay.
in the surf community.
All right.
You know, it's going to happen either way. And you know, you who's going to forget Stephanie Gilmore?
Okay.
Did Instagram most of her career, right?
Right.
Nobody.
Yeah. Has she ever made a cover of a magazine? Probably not.
Oh yeah, for sure she has.
Oh,
Yeah,
I think magazine.
tracks and
Tracks.
waves and
Okay.
all that.
Maybe,
Probably
yeah.
Surfer even.
Yeah.
back in the day.
I'm just trying to think when it ended, and it's probably like 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the Surfers Journal is the only
And that's kind of a different. Yeah, that's cool though.
yeah,
Super cool.
yeah.
All right. So, social media. What are your thoughts? We all know you. I think my feelings are you like it.
I like social media.
Okay.
I don't like certain aspects or elements of it.
All right.
And, you know, now it's becoming so just there's ads and stuff everywhere. You know, you don't even hardly get to see what you want to see anymore. But yeah, I like it. I like being able to see what's going on in surfing and see guys and gals' best clips. I mean, I enjoy watching that, you know, and then the what are publications in the old days, you know, they're putting content on there on a daily basis and You know, you can share family photos with friends and family.
Yeah.
You know, I enjoy that. I really do.
So that's a good, actually, I never thought about that. Like you can actually see Felipe Toledo's family and kind of know them.
Yeah.
But before in the magazine, you would just see a centerfold of him or something.
Right.
So I guess
He's
that
one of
element makes it more personal.
Right. If they allow it. You know, Philippe is allowed that.
Yeah.
You know, but other guys like Gabriel Medina.
He's been pretty open the last year, I think, too.
Yeah. And then when he started being more on Instagram, you know, it was with the wife he had. So it was like, okay, there's two models making out.
Okay.
Right. They're both beautiful, sculpted and all that kind of stuff. Right. So you're not really getting to know anything. I mean, who the heck wouldn't want to be doing that? But, you know, but guys like Philippe, you know, they open up and they allow a little, not all, but a little piece of their world to be shown.
Okay.
You know, I mean, wife and kids and all that.
All right.
And then his emotional issues or stuff he deals with, he's open about it. So
okay, so this is a little earlier than I wanted, but on Instagram you're pretty open about your injury. So do you want to talk about that?
Sure.
Okay. It was pretty. So what happened?
Okay, so
is this the first time you've talked about this on Instagram? Obviously,
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah. So January 19th, my wife and I had been going down to Los Gaviotas in Rosarito for a number of years.
Yeah.
And we had gotten to the point where we were going almost once a month.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so close and it's so easy. And then from there, you have San Miguel and you got all these other waves. So, and I hate crowds. So, right?
Yeah.
Get across the border. So we went down there on the 17th, 18th, and 19th of January this year, 2022.
Okay.
Stay in the same place we always do in the front. So I surf in the morning. My wife's not even up yet. She gets up while I'm surfing or whatever. I come back. I'm like, well, the tide's really high. I just cut my session short. I'm going to just relax and wait for the tide to kind of alter. So, and one of my favorite things to do down there is I'd always put my music, headphones on, grab the camera, head out, listen to music, be alone in my head for a while and take pictures. I love taking pictures, you know, beautiful sceneries and the birds and the ocean and waves and all sorts of things. So, that's what I was doing. So I get down to the north side of, where was it? It was by the pool. There's a cove. So I walked around the cove, came down the other side of it. And that cove has a tiled walkway and then steps to go back up and get out of how it drops down there. So right before the steps, I was just watching the waves and I decided I'm going to crawl higher, climb up the rocks, boulders, kind of like you'd have in a jetty or something. I saw a platform up there and I looked like cement. So I'm just going to head up there. I'm going to sit up there, take some photos, listen to some music and relax.
Cool.
And I did. And there was like also a thing sticking out of the wall made out of the same material. Turns out it wasn't. It was sandstone. So I'm standing on sandstone. The sandstone starts to give. I grab the piece sticking out of the wall, which probably weighs 500 or 600 pounds. So now I got that in my arms. And I just get driven straight down through the boulders. I had shoes on really loose. They went flying. So I had nothing on my feet. I remember feeling on the way down my feet hitting all the rocks. And my thought was at the time is, my feet are going to be demolished. You know, this is the quick thought I had during the fall.
Yeah.
They're going to be demolished. They'll never be able to put these things back together again. My feet are going to be crushed, all the bones, right?
Yeah.
And it turns out that's not what happened. I get to the bottom and I'm just deposited out on the tile. I have no idea if I was unconscious for a short period of time or not. But I'm laying there and I realized that my feet are going to be in bad shape. So I lay down and look over my shoulder and I see my left heel is completely peeled off.
Oh my God.
Half way up the bottom of my foot. And the sides are pulled off, ripped off. And it happened in a way where it was just ripped. And you could see the inside of the foot and you could see the inside of the heel when the heels flip back, you know. Yeah. So, I mean, it looked like, honestly, inside of the photo in the heel, the design in there, how the foot's made, looked like a starfish to me. It was interesting. At first I thought that looks like a starfish. And then I realized my right calf is completely open from one side to the other all the way around, and everything's hanging out of it.
Fuck.
And it turns out it's no problem. It turns out it's nerves, muscle, tissue, all sorts of stuff that they had to push back in and sew it back together. So I actually ended up being having nerve damage in both legs.
Wow.
So that was the fall, and so at the time, I'm laying down there, and I'm like, well, I can't get up and walk, and it's high tide and the waves are hitting and there's wind, right? So I decided, well, I better yell for help.
Yeah.
So I start yelling for help, and it takes me a while to realize this, but with the waves crashing and the wind, nobody's going to hear me.
Yeah.
So, and it's still early, and we're at that gated community, which it's off season in January, right? It's not summer, and it's a Wednesday.
Yeah.
There's no one around.
Right.
So finally I realized I'm going to have to crawl out of here. So I had to roll over and army crawl out because I couldn't use my feet. I ended up having fractures in my left foot also,
Wow.
but just with the way they were cut up and everything, I couldn't use them. Even my right foot was all cut up too, but just nothing like the left heel. So I army crawled out yelling help at the same time, and I get about probably five steps away from the top. And I see this big security guard come around the corner, and I'm like, oh, thank God, finally.
Yeah.
And then there's another person, a lady with him, who turns out, I found out afterwards, went up and let them know there was an issue. They heard somebody yelling help, and they couldn't find me, but they knew that they could hear it.
Yeah.
Elaine and Gary, she saved my life basically by getting everybody. She heard it. She's standing on her balcony with her husband, and they heard it, the help scream.
Wow.
So they went straight to the security and got people moving.
Yeah,
like, hey,
looking for you.
I don't know where this is coming from. The wind is swirling, but we have to find this person.
Wow.
They're yelling help, and they've been yelling it for a few minutes now.
Mm.
And then she and somebody else run down to my wife, to the house we're renting, and get my wife and let her know something's happened. Bring her back. And by then, I think the paramedics had showed up. So medical stuff that they had available. They basically said, you're not going to be able to go to one of our hospitals. Everybody, they're overflowing because of COVID
Wow.
outbreak. So, and my wife and I were already thinking, and she wasn't going to stop anyways. She's taking me back to American hospitals. So
Yeah.
So she had to load the entire car up with everything while I'm sitting there wrapped up, and then we have to drive back.
Yeah.
So we're driving up, and I didn't feel like I was in shock. I was very aware of everything, very aware. The only reason I think I might have been in shock is that I didn't have any pain. Like,
Wow.
it didn't hurt yet. It
Yeah,
did.
yeah, it's
it
coming.
did. It's coming, but it didn't hurt.
Wow.
And I was able to tell people, do this, do that. I was directing things. So then she's driving us back, and we just go through the quick lane, and the border patrol, they're like, oh, no, you don't need a ready pass. Go through, get to the hospital once they see what's going on. Right?
Yeah.
So
Thank God.
we get to the Chula Vista, Sharp Chula Vista. It's the closest hospital. We get to the ER there. And my wife can't come in.
It's
There's
COVID,
still,
yeah.
it's not over yet.
Yeah.
This
Crazy.
pandemic hasn't ended yet. So she's having to drop me off. And I get in there. I'm in the ER, and they're like, you need to be at a trauma center.
Yeah.
So they called 911. The hospital did.
Okay.
So they called my wife and let her know, hey, we're transferring him to Scripps Hillcrest. It's a trauma center. They deal with this kind of stuff. So I get transferred over there. By this time, they've put me on.
How long has this been now?
It's probably been about 3 or 4 hours at least. Right. And my foot. Yeah. So they get me to the hospital. By then, they gave me a lot of painkillers when I was at the ER because they opened both wounds and flushed them and cleaned them, even though they couldn't do the surgery.
Yeah.
They're like, we can at least clean these out.
Okay, good.
And it's not going to happen if he's feeling everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, they gave me shots of painkillers, the hard, heavy stuff. So I don't remember transferring to the other hospital. I just remember coming out of surgery and looking at my foot and going, oh my gosh. I mean, there's hundreds of staples everywhere.
Oh my God.
My foot, my right calf, my right foot. I mean, it's just, I don't even know how many staples there were. And then what the inside work they had to do. So the plastic surgeon that worked on me did a great job.
Yeah.
Now it turned out it didn't work out. I didn't get to keep my heel because they sent me home too soon. The hospital sent me home after about 3 or 4 days. Maybe they just couldn't handle me. I don't know, but I honestly don't think I should have been home yet, because what happened when I went home, in 2 weeks, I got so infected, it was gangrene.
Yeah.
So, I end up at an ER, and they call my doctor, and he's like, well, he's supposed to come in on this day. I think it'll be okay. Again, I should have been right away seeing him, ER. Okay. They should have sent me home. So anyways, by the time that happens, it's over. The whole foot that was ripped back is gone. It's going away. So the new surgeon the plastic surgeon I had turned it over to another plastic surgeon who had more experience dealing with what my scenario was. So, I get back into the hospital. This is February 8th, I believe. They start that night. I'm getting major surgery again. And they're cutting it all off because they don't want the infection to continue. Yeah. So, and then they got to figure out what kind of infection I have. Turns out the infection I had was none of the antibiotics would work. They had to get their specialist to concoct like 2 or 3 antibiotics that would work with it. And I was intravenously taking those the whole time I was in the hospital because I had the infection actually got on my bone. They had to file the infection off the bone, right? And then they had to keep cutting the skin and the meat off that was infected. And then they'd wait a couple of days. And then they'd go back in and do it again. And then they'd wait a couple of days. I think there was 3 or 4 of those. And then they'd put like a pump on it that would suck stuff out, right? To keep
like the poison out? Yeah.
Talk about some pain.
Oh my God.
And then the surgery's the pain. I mean, this is when that first surgery, the first or second, it might've been both. The pain was so bad, after the surgery and those nights that I almost didn't make it. It was like, I can't do this. And then I was just in pain for days. And that's when I just thought I can't live this way. I mean, I can't even handle it. Like being in this kind of pain, it's so bad. Finally, they stepped up and started giving me enough meds where I wasn't suffering. But then they were when we first got to the hospital, and I didn't know this at the time, but the plastic surgeon that took over, Dr. Jindal, he told me this much later. In fact, it was in a follow-up visit after I'd been out of the hospital and I was healed up pretty good. He said, well, there was about 4 or 5 of us surgeons, in the waiting area when your case came up. And everybody, they talk about it, who's going to go take it. And everybody else was saying, well, it looks like it's going to just be an amputation. And he was like, no, I think I can save this.
Oh, okay.
And so that surgeon took my case. Otherwise, I probably would have had my leg cut off. Right then. And he even told me at the time, he said, you might be facing an amputation.
Okay.
We're going to do everything we can to save it.
Okay.
He goes, it's going to hurt. You're going to have to be prepared. This is going to be a long haul. I was in the hospital 2 months.
Yeah.
There was 8 total surgeries.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a long haul. So,
man.
Yeah. And the drugs I was on, they had me hallucinating, having weird dreams, that I'd wake up freaked out, like really freaked out. I mean, I'm dreaming stuff that's just makes your mind, like eating flesh and just weird stuff. And I don't remember dreams ever. These are vivid and scary. So yeah, I was like, and then am I going to be able to surf? If I can't surf, that's going to be
You had that thought in your head?
Yeah. I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do? That keeps me alive, mental health wise.
Yeah.
I got to surf. I don't have, it's not a question of if I can or not, but, figure out a way to do it, whatever happens. But so that in the early part, that was, that's what was going on. And it was pretty touch and go for a while. And then when I got home after 2 months in the hospital, I was still, laid up in bed for another few weeks. And they weaned me off the intravenous drugs, morphine and Dilaudid and fentanyl in the hospital. But I was still on other pain pills and types of drugs when I got out. I mean, 10, 15 pills, whatever. So I then had to go through the getting getting off all the drugs. And that took many months. What's his, November?
Yeah.
So it's been since January. Yeah. I got one pill left that I'm still taking. I'm taking an eighth of it. Everything else is for my current condition. It turns out when I got out of the hospital, there was still more to be done. Nobody knew, and I didn't even know that I had other damage to my body. It turns out I have a lot of internal damage too. Oh, man. Which they, at the time, they're just looking at my body and my feet and all that stuff. And they're like, we got to find a way to give him a heel, which they took from my thigh. I don't have a heel. It's just skin that's sewed, wrapped around it, so I'll never walk barefoot again. But after finally getting out of the wheelchair, out of the walker and crutches, I start feeling things in my leg that I've never felt before. Pains in the upper part and nerve pain below the knee that feels like somebody, stuck a jolt of electricity through it. Just the kind of, you just have to get off of it. You can't do anything. So my legs and feet and calves are starting to give me trouble. And so, okay, so now this is the next step, So my doctor gets me to some specialists. I start getting MRIs because my upper back's giving me trouble too. Okay. Turns out that the damage to my cervical spine and lower lumbar spine is pretty severe also.
Wow.
So I've got crushed disc. And remember, 58 years of surfing.
Yeah.
So they're probably ready to go. These weren't young, fresh, bone parts and disc and all that going, hey, we can handle this.
Yeah.
They were like, we're done. So I have bulging disc. I have discs that are just grinded down to nothing. Okay. Like right now when I walk, I'm bent. I have to walk a certain way. I can't even walk standing straight up. My arm hurts so bad. It's just, there's a constant pain. I'm in it right now.
Wow.
It's constant. So I have 2 more surgeries to go.
Okay.
Well, as far as I know. So I'm getting back surgery before Christmas. Okay. Tried everything else. Yeah. Exhausted every possibility. Okay. And everybody I talked to, pain management people, everybody, they're like, this is the end of the road. I've tried, I was getting the shots, which I've been getting for years anyways, cortisone shots and stuff, and they weren't doing anything. Not even a day worth of relief. And they all agreed, surgery is your only option at this point. Luckily, it's not fusion. Back in the day, that's kind of like what they did. They'd fuse stuff together and all that. But now they have better options, and they can actually replace disc and do things where I won't lose my flexibility and things. I'll still be able to surf the way I do now, the way I did before. Yeah. So get that surgery, and as soon as that's healed up with the lower lumbar, then they go into the cervical spine, and they're going to do surgery up there. Same thing, crushed disc, bulging disc, all that stuff. So it's pain 24/7 right now. Wow. And the arm one is so bad
wow.
Sometimes it's just like, I got to sit down, find a comfortable position that I can get this pain to stop. Give me a few minutes of relief.
Yeah. Sorry that happened. That sucks, dude. It's just crazy.
So I get off all those pain pills, and now I'm back on pain pills again. Okay. For this pain. Different pills, lighter, much mellower, easier to get off of and stuff. But it's been a long, up, down, up, down.
So can I ask you a couple questions?
Of course.
All right. One is, you said at a certain point when you're in so much pain early on, that you didn't want to go on anymore, but you did.
Right.
Did you actually have that conversation in your head?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, I've suffered from depression for my entire life.
Okay.
So all that was triggered. It was a trigger. It just set me off. And and then all the drugs and everything.
Yeah.
You know, my depression was raging after,
Okay.
and when I got out of the hospital and, you know, mood swings. Yeah. So, I had plenty of conversations in my head, and then eventually with my wife.
Yeah.
Because she knows everything.
Yeah.
You know, so she was the one that was there to kind of help me through it all. Her, you know,
Yeah. She seems via Instagram.
yeah.
You open that door,
Yeah.
and she seems like you guys like a good couple.
She's an amazing woman.
Even before your injury, you guys
Yeah.
looked happy.
Oh, we are. She's my
Yeah.
best friend in the
Cool.
world.
That's good.
There's no.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I think I'm her best friend too.
Oh, good. Well, I guess that's how it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah, yeah. So we actually hang out. We'd hang out if we weren't married. You know, we just were
Yeah.
hanging out anyways.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So I mean, did she help you through it then?
Yeah.
And what's her name?
Robin.
Yeah, Robin. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, she had to put up with it and watch it, and then of course,
And that's hard for her too.
Yeah, I internalize it. I bury it and stuff it, right? But she knew something was going on, and she called the police at one point and had them come do a wellness check on me
Wow.
because she was so worried about me.
Wow.
And you know, we're in the same house, but I
No.
was just, you know, my depression was so bad. I was in
That's,
bed for days, and she finally was so worried. She's just like, she called them, and they took me somewhere for a night
Okay.
where I could get a reset
Yeah.
of my emotions and everything, and
Wow.
and that. But yeah, that has been as tough to deal with as the physical pain was, and the physical stuff. The depression and everything else has been just as tough. And the other, you know, just all the emotions that go with it. You know, when you're basically having this, not knowing what your life's going to be like.
I don't know that. So watching you walk up to do this interview where we were at the harbor, you look pretty good. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, there's times when you won't even be able to tell.
Yeah.
There's other times when I'm bent over and I'm barely
Yeah,
able to
I'm
walk.
sure. I'm sure.
Depends on how long I walked.
Okay.
Or who knows?
Okay.
The
Yeah.
way I'm bent,
Yeah.
straight up,
Yeah.
pinches everything.
Oh man.
So this is the best position, the sitting position.
Okay. Good.
You
I
know,
picked
and
the
then
right spot.
sometimes I have to put my head down into the right to
Okay.
release the pressure over here on the spine so that this doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
So I move around, I find spots. It's a game I play
right.
with myself. But yeah,
And
it's
the other thing to me, I heard you say is like surfing's keeping you going. Like you're
Yeah.
looking to finally get in the water.
well, you know, I got back in the water a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
And at first it was just like, this is too soon, right?
You felt that?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
because I just couldn't even handle all the stuff I put on my foot to make
Yeah.
sure it was okay.
Okay.
But then as I was surfing a little more, the pain in my legs was so bad. It was just like, okay, I'm gonna push through this
Yeah.
because my mental health is just as important, and that's where I find my peace is being out in the water. So I pushed through it. But then the pain, it's got so severe, and then the upper part of my back started being so severe, I can't push through it now.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Okay.
So that's why finally the surgery is going to happen. It's just like no more. The shots aren't going. Nothing's going to work. So,
Yeah. Wow, you've been through a lot, in
one
a
year.
short part of time, really.
Right. It's been a heck of a year.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Then heavy story.
Yeah.
I mean, I was feeling. I've seen the pictures and stuff, but and I couldn't only imagine what it was like. So I'm sorry you had to go through that. But I guess
thanks,
shit
man.
happens. I guess I don't know.
You hear
What
about
did you learn?
stuff.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You know, you always hear about weird, bizarre, freak accidents that happen to people, and they happen. You know, mine was a freak accident.
Totally.
Just bizarre, like out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, you think about it, and it's like it happened to you. It's like, well, it's gonna happen to somebody, right? I mean, you see people
guess.
going through this kind of stuff.
guess, yeah.
I guess it could be me, and here I am. But
So crazy.
you know, and I'm still gonna crawl up boulders and jetties and things like that. You know, it's not gonna change. But I'm going to be more aware of what I'm standing on
Okay.
and how stable it is before
Okay.
I do it.
Yeah.
There was a quick article Beach Grit did when I was in the hospital when it first happened.
Mm-hmm.
And they said they never talked to me. They said based on my post, and I don't know what it was, but was on so many drugs. Who knows how I wrote it, but
Yeah.
they said I was up there trying to get pro surfer almost dies trying to get a selfie for Instagram or something. It's like, no, that's not what happened. But it probably sounds better on your blurb.
Yeah.
Because there was no selfies.
Yeah.
And I was sitting watching the surf and waiting for the tide to drop with my music in my head. And I always take pictures.
Yeah.
I just love it. I just do. But not a selfie where I'm going to die or something.
Yeah.
And then it's funny. I got calls and messages from like 3 or 4 magazines, that do photography and stuff.
Okay.
And they're like, oh, we saw that you almost died trying to take a selfie. So that one article in Beach Grit gets all these magazines, going that's what happened. And I have to tell them, no, that's not what happened. Yeah. Here's what happened. It's not as good of a story, whatever.
Yeah.
But they already wrote their stories and they're already out there that way.
How'd you feel about that?
Yeah, I died. Who cares?
You don't care?
Nah.
Okay.
But, it was just weird to see it that way. It's like, But the Beach Grit's kind of they sensationalize things.
They have to.
Yeah.
That's their thing.
That is their thing. They do it well. Chaz does it well. He's very, I love his dry wit and sense
Do you
of
like
humor.
Beach Grit?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. I like Chaz.
Okay.
And I love his books too. I've read his books. Oh, he's a writer. Wow.
Okay. Yeah. I've never met the guy, but he makes me laugh when I listen.
Oh, yeah. There's times when it's like,
and read his stuff.
What an a-hole.
He just tries to find an angle.
Yeah, what an asshole.
He found an angle on you.
Fucking douchebag. But he's talented, man. He's fun.
Yeah.
He's fun to read and stuff. So.
I know. It's getting cold. We're going to be out of here. One more question on a good note. So, especially the last couple of days, you've been posting like your son surfs and then your grandson surfs.
Yeah.
How rad's that?
Oh, my gosh. I remember paddling out at the harbor, south side, north side of the South Jetty. I was probably in my mid-20s.
Okay.
And I see a threesome paddle out, 3 generations of surfers.
Yeah.
And I got, oh, man, that's going to be me someday. I can't wait. That is going to be so cool. So I've had years of surfing with my son. We're best friends. We surf together all the time. And stuff.
Yeah, cool.
And now Jack loves surfing too. So he gets to go. And as soon as I'm up and ready and going, I don't know, 5-6 months from now, I'm going to get that opportunity. I'm going to do it again. The 3 of us out in the water.
Yeah, that's going to be super rad.
Mm-hmm.
Right on.
And I'm going to surf as well as I did before the accident, if not better.
Well, that was one. I'm trying to wrap this up, but I got to ask you.
Yeah.
Was there, you were up until January, ripping.
Yeah, I had a second, a second life in my surfing.
And it was rad. It was awesome.
Yeah, I just dialed in boards with David Barr. Just really, my passion for surfing has always been there. Yeah. But I just got more serious about it. It's like, I just love it. I just want to do it. I want to do it the best I can. I want to enjoy it. It's I cut out all the other sports in my life. Okay. Figured I don't have a lot of spare time. I was working a lot of hours and stuff and then trying to fit in surfing. So yeah, I just felt like I really was getting better. I was surfing better. I'm going to do that again. Yeah. 100%. I don't care what the situation, my foot it'll all be fine eventually. And I'll be out in the water and I'm going to surf as well or better.
That's awesome.
I will.
Right on. Well, thank you so much for doing the interview.
Yeah, Mike, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Super stoked. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, bud.
All right. This is Mike, and we're out of here. See ya.
100 foot out jerk food, 100 racks on a surf dude, slippery, big guns like Mark Food, trap jumping like a kangaroo, 100 foot out jerk food, 100 racks on a surf dude, slippery, big guns like Mark Food, trap jumping like a kangaroo. You know we don't fuck with no kooks, your boo on my didgeridoo, they calling me dude, I'm stacking the loot, I'm ripping your chick in the coop, she grabbing a hold of my leggy, they jelly, they Gucci my weddy, the fridge of Giuseppe, the chain is so heavy, she think that I'm charging the Eddie. 100 foot out choke food, 100 racks on a surf dude, slippery, big guns like Mark Food, trap jumping like a kangaroo, 100 foot out choke food, 100 racks on a surf, dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Fu. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. Surf trap, I'm stacking that money. Your shorts a red Ferrari. He starts to calling me Dundee. Diamonds a surfing McFlurry. She want me to teach her to surf. Splash, I'm pulling up, ripping the verse. I'm leaving these kooks in the hearse. They get moved 100 foot on their head, they get work. 100 foot out, choke, 100 racks on a surf, dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Fu. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. 100 foot out, choke, 100 racks on a surf, dude. Slippery, big guns like Mark Fu. Trap jumping like a kangaroo. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. You calling me dude, I'm stacking the loot. I'm ripping your chick in the coop. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. You know we don't fuck with no kooks. They calling me dude, I'm stacking the loot. I'm ripping your chick in the coop.
Hey, you guys, Endless Summer box set. This thing is legit. It's authentic, numbered certificate in it. It has a 5-frame film strip from the original print. You will literally own a piece of history. It has a specially minted bronze medallion. Dude, that thing's sick. Okay, there's so much more here. Go to the show notes. There's a link on there. Go check this piece of history out. This thing's rad. Seriously. Smithsonian American History Museum has it. It took 4 years of research with 3.5 in production, all hand assembled. This thing's rad. So much to this awesome box set. Remastered DVD, sharper images than the original film, but dude, this thing's so sick. Link in the show notes.